Good evening and welcome to the Bhagavatam. Today we are reading from Canto 11, chapter number 27. And this is Krishna's instructions on the process of deity worship. Now, deity worship, according to some religions, is worship of idols. And that is considered terrible. It's considered blasphemous. It's considered horrible. You better not do it. The equation is that a form that you worship is somehow demonic. Somehow it is evil. But I ask the person who says that to pause for a minute. If you say you believe in God, then I have a question for you. What does God look like? Do you have a form of God that you know of? Most of the time, people don't know what God looks like. Have you seen God? No, they don't. They know of the Son of God, they know of the messenger of God, and they do even put up idols of the Son of God, even though he might be on a cross. And they do put up symbols, in the case of Islam, for their prophet. But if you knew the form of God, and if you knew that God has a form, of course, that's a debatable question as well. Does God have a form? And maybe we should start there. Let's start with the fact that someone believes in God. I'm not going to get into a discussion of whether there is a God or not. Let's start with the assumption that there is a God for a moment. Is God just an energy, a vast light that spreads all over the universe? Is that all God can be? You can be a person, I can be a person, but God cannot be a person? Is that what I'm hearing from some people? All right. If someone comes around to the fact that God can be whatever God wants to be, then clearly God can be a person. I'm a person, you're a person. God can be a person. The Bible says man is made in the image of God. Clearly, we have a form. God has a form. If God is a person, a being who can be angry and can be wrathful and can be whatever people have ascribed in various religions, then clearly those are the qualities of a being, of a person. And if you do not know what that person is like, then you're basically dealing with something that is completely amorphous, that you have no clue what it's like. It could be anywhere, it could be anyhow. And then basically you live in fear. But fear is not what God is asking for. Yes, in some religions, they actually believe that the only way to relate to God is through fear. Clearly, in almost every other religion in the world, whether it is the Abrahamic religions of Judaism or Christianity, or for that matter, Hinduism, it is very clearly understood that we have a loving relationship with God. And for a loving relationship to exist, there needs to be a lover and a beloved. The object of love being God, the lover being the devotee of God. Right? A lover and a beloved. It's not very difficult. We do it if we have this relationship in our world as well. So it is with God. If we are to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy mind, with all thy soul, then it follows that God is a being who we can have a relationship with. Now, how do I fall in love with someone who I don't even know what they look like? I don't even know their name. I don't even know what they do. Could you fall in love with someone like that? Could you fall in love with a partner, husband, wife, who you knew nothing about, other than perhaps their writings about something that they spoke to someone? But you don't know anything about the person, what they do, what are their hobbies, what are their food interests, what do their, what colors do they like, what dress do they wear, what is their particular passions, and no, you don't know nothing. Except when you come into the Vedic literature. And when you come into the Vedas, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is what we're reading from, you get a full, elaborate concept of God, the form of God, the activities of God, what it's like to be with God, what it's like to love God, what are the different kinds of relationships you can have with God, and what are God's likings and preferences and everything else. And here we're talking about a God not of fear, but a God of love, of divine love, of the ultimate love, of the greatest love of all, the love that we've all been longing for and looking for in the world, but never finding. That is that love for Krishna, and it is known as bhakti, Bhakti. Another way to call it is devotional love. Why devotion? Because love requires devotion, being devoted to something or someone. If you're really passionate about your work, you're devoted to it. If you're passionate about a person, you're devoted to them, you're devoted to your children, you're devoted to your country. Ultimately, it's about being devoted to God, which means to love to the exclusion of, to know that that is the ultimate and highest love of all. Everything follows from there. Because the relationships I have with my children or my spouse or my country is temporary. It's for this lifetime. But the relationship I have with God is eternal. Life after life, until eternity, that is my relationship, my eternal relationship. And that relationship, if it is a relationship of love, love is not passive. Love is not just saying, I love you. Love is about action, about showing that love, about serving the other person, about doing for them what they like and what they enjoy, what pleases them. Whatever my beloved likes is what I like. That's what the Vrijavasis say. And what my beloved likes is what I like. Right? So this basic principle is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how deity worship, the worship of an idol, if you want to use that term, actually brings us closer to God and cultivates the feeling of love of God in a more practical and real way. So whatever mental blocks you may have, whatever conditioning you may have, I suggest you put it aside and allow for a moment a new paradigm to enter into your thinking. In India, you will see that for over 1,000 years, Muslim invaders, and even the British, but particularly the Muslim invaders, the Mughals, destroyed thousands of temples and the deities within them because they thought that idol worship is of the devil. But what is an idol? If you look at a form of God, such as you see here, you see two forms. The masculine form, Krishna, who is in blackish in color, is known to be not actually black, but more described as a fresh rain cloud. So the color of a fresh rain cloud. Now this is black, made of black marble, so clearly going to look black. And his beloved, who is no different than himself. He is one soul, God, in two parts, masculine and feminine. And the feminine aspect of him is known as Radha. Radha is truly the embodiment of love. She is the ultimate goddess of love. And because they are the same, Radha and Krishna, but in different forms, not only in different forms, but different moods, different aspects, they then come together as lover and beloved, the eternal lover and beloved, the eternal soulmates. It is them that we worship. That supreme being, the God of all gods, the supreme Godhead, is whom we worship in the deity form. We invite the supreme being, the supreme Lord, to come into that form so that we may worship him, so that we may offer our homage, our devotion, our love. And we're going to talk about the different ways in which that's done. So let's get started. Krishna here in the Bhagavatam personally explains. So this is the Supreme Lord himself, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Being, Supreme Godhead, the God whom everyone worships under different names. That Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, personally explains why worshipping him in his deity form works and how to go about it. Now, before your mind goes to some idea of complicated rituals in the temple, relax. Krishna himself says this topic is vast and full of procedures, and because he is Krishna, he does what he always does. He simplifies the process for the sincere seeker. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to simplify this chapter even further to make it understandable to someone who is beginning on this path. So if you're new to deity worship, and if you ever wondered, well, why do Hindus worship statues? What's the point of offering a flower? Or is God really hungry for food that you feed him food? Well, then this entire chapter is for you. Deity worship, or archana, exists for one purpose: to train the mind and the senses to focus on Krishna, on God, with devotion. It's a way to serve God with body, mind, and heart in a structured and tangible way. Why? Because we're beginners. And because as beginners in spiritual life, we need a form we can see. Right? If I tell you, think of God, Krishna says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto, think of me always. Well, how are you going to think of him? If you have a form, you can look at that form. You can take that form into your imagination and into your mind, and you can focus on that form. See? Then you can create a routine around that process of worship. And then through all of that comes a relationship that begins to feel real. Deity worship provides all of this. Imagine how people form relationships. Like, how do you form a relationship with someone? You first meet them. You look at them. You pay attention to their words. You give them time. You care for them. You touch them. You give your presence. You bring them gifts. You show up consistently. And deity worship takes these natural human tendencies and directs them towards God. Think of it as spiritual therapy for the soul. The senses, which are normally scattered and distracted and all over the place, get retrained to focus on Krishna. Modern psychology tells us the same thing, that habits shape our relationships. If we want to have a relationship with God, we've got to create a habit, and rituals create habits. Practice rewires emotional patterns. Rituals build stability and reduce anxiety. Physical cues enhance mental focus. Daily routines anchor deeper values. So, keeping all these ideas in mind, deity worship does all of this, but with divine focus. It is mindfulness, devotion, and relationship building wrapped into one practice. Now, Krishna explains that he accepts worship in many forms. The forms could be in stone, or as we talked of here in the case of these deities, in marble, or deities like that, again, in marble. And then their worship. This is Krishna and Balaram. Here we had Radha and Krishna, all being worshipped beautifully. Devotees make wonderful garlands and decorations and dresses and outfits for them. This is Radha, feminine form of God. And she's being worshipped. All these things are handmade. And they're dressed every single day with new outfits, new garlands, new decorations, new jewelry. New meaning, they're decorated newly, but it doesn't mean everything is made every single day. The jewelry is not made every single day, and the clothes are not made every single day. But they have their wardrobe, and they're dressed with different outfits every single day, including at bedtime when they go to sleep. And then in the morning, new outfits are put on them, fresh outfits, shall I say. And they're decorated, and then everyone gathers to greet them. And every day they're fed. And in the temples, it may be as many as 6 times a day. At home, it might be once, a couple of times a day. But it's a process. So Krishna says, whenever you sincerely approach me, I am present. Whenever you sincerely approach me, I am present. For a beginner, this is reassuring. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need elaborate rituals. But you do need sincerity. Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says that he accepts even the simplest offering, a flower, a leaf, a little water, if it is given with love. And that one word, love, devotion, is the most important principle of deity worship. Many people do deity worship, but at times they forget this important principle. They become more ritualistic. They become more rules-based. They get caught up in the different practices of what are known as Archana Vidhi, right? Vaidhi Bhakti. They get caught up in those rules and regulations. And then they make that what is important and judge each other if they don't follow those rules. That is not the way of Krishna. Krishna says, one offers me with love and devotion, even the smallest thing. The love is what matters. So the chapter begins with Uddhava, Krishna's intimate friend, asking what many of us still ask. He asks, my dear Lord, please explain to me the method of worshipping you in your deity form. What are the qualifications? Why is it important? What is the process? And this is the beauty of Uddhav's questions. He does or asks all the uncomfortable questions that we might have so that we don't have to. He continues, great sages all say that deity worship brings the greatest benefit in human life. And that has been said by sages going back thousands of years. He mentions that this practice has ancient roots going back to Brahma and Shiva and Bhrigu and Narad, the wisest and most spiritually evolved beings in the universe. Uddhav then says that deity worship is beneficial for everyone, no matter what your race, gender, caste. This process is accessible for everyone. Now, there have been people known as Smarta Brahmins who believe that no, it's only accessible to people who are born in a Brahmin family and only if you're male. Yes, such people did take over the Vedic culture for some few hundred years even. But that is not the teaching of Krishna, and that is not the teaching of the Vaishnav gurus who have for the last hundreds of years been telling us that worship of Krishna or God has nothing to do with what family or lineage you were born in. It has nothing to do with what gender you are part of. It has nothing to do with any bodily designation. This is an act of the soul. And whether you're a child or whether you're an adult, whether you're a man or a woman, whether you were born in a meat-eating household or in a pure vegetarian household, whether you're born in a Brahmin family or a Shudra family, it doesn't matter. Under proper guidance of a guru, you can learn how to worship the deity. And this is a very important point. Because as Uddhava asks Krishna finally, he says, please explain this process of liberation from the bondage of work. You see, we're all going to work. We have a house. We have all kinds of things that we do. We earn money, we spend money, we buy groceries, we do all kinds of things. The idea is to channel all of that into a devotional act, to have a temple in our home, an altar, a place where we can worship. When we bring our food from the groceries and we cook something, or we just have fruits, we can offer them to Krishna first. So then he becomes the enjoyer, not we. We realize that everything, including our house, our possessions, the things we buy, the things we do for him. Isn't that what love is? Everything I do it for you. And so it is between us and God that we practically make this happen. We don't just say these words on a Sunday or a Friday or whatever day you worship. We don't just go there and we believe. No, we put it into action. Love is not just a noun. Love is a verb. It is action. And therefore, it is called devotional service. So Uddhava is basically asking, how does a beginner come closer to God? In a very personal way. And Krishna smiles and replies. He says there are endless ways to do this. There are endless prescriptions and many processes that have been recommended. I will explain briefly. This is Krishna's mercy. He is looking at us We who are messy, distracted souls of this Kali Yuga, this particular period in time where our minds are so scattered. And he's basically saying, don't get overwhelmed or lost in technicalities. Understand the purpose and the principle. He then outlines 3 types of worship. There's the Vedic way, there's the Tantric way, and then there are the mixed processes. Then he says, choose a method and worship with sincerity. That's what matters, the sincerity. Krishna then explains something profoundly reassuring, that he can be worshipped in many forms: stone, wood, metal, paint, sand, the heart, even in the heart, just by meditating on him. In fire, water, the sun, in many different ways. But this is Krishna basically telling the beginner, I'm not limited. If you sincerely invoke me, I will appear, even in your heart. This is the moment where you break the old misconception that the deity is just a statue. No. In bhakti, the deity is God. The deity is God. The form of God, when you have invoked God to be present in it, he comes and is present within that deity. And when you worship that deity, he receives your devotion. He receives your love. So he is willing to take a form that you can relate to. Just as a parent bends down to make eye contact with their toddler, Krishna bends down into a form we can see, touch, dress, offer food to, and speak to. You may say, why, wait a minute, Krishna is one person. How can he be in millions of deities all over the world? Well, he's Krishna. You and I can't do that, but he can. He can be present everywhere. He can be present in millions of forms, in millions of ways, in millions of hearts. He says, I'm seated in everyone's heart. So he's there with you even right now. But you do not have the eyes to see what lies within your heart. You don't have the eyes to see him yet. That vision of him within your heart will be given to you as your heart becomes purified. Because right now it is full of anarthas. It is full of all kinds of impurities, meaning desires, lust, greed, anger, reactions, karma, all kinds of things. And as that heart becomes purified by the deity worship, by the chanting the names of Krishna, then you will be able to see him within the heart. That day will come. It takes time. It takes a process of clearing up stuff that we've accumulated, the impressions in our subconscious that we've accumulated for millions of lifetimes. Now, why does Krishna do this? Why does he come into the deity? Because beginners need a connection they can see. When people ask, well, why do you need a form of God? I always ask them, do you not have photos of your loved ones? The deity is not only a photo, it's where Krishna personally invited into a visible form that you can worship, love, serve, and interact with using all your senses. We are physical beings. Our senses can only perceive the physical world. So God is so kind that he agrees to be present within a form through which he and she can receive our love, devotion, and surrender. Love is an active, dynamic expression of our heart and soul. Krishna is not interested in what we offer him, although it is advisable that we offer him the best of what we have. Yet what really matters is our heart, our love, our entire being. By offering the things we have and enjoy, we purify our karmic tendency to enjoy this world. By offering our heart and mind, we purify the impurities of lust, anger, greed, and selfishness that we've held on to for millions of years. By serving the deity, we release the ego of being the master, the enjoyer, the proprietor of the things of this world. And we recognize that everything belongs to Krishna. Everything is his, including all that we have and all that we are. Our body, mind, soul, all come from him. And ultimately, we are his. He is the supreme enjoyer, and we are to be enjoyed by him. We are his eternal servants. And unless we overcome our identification with the ego, the intellect, the mind, the body, our identification with the ego, the intellect, the mind, the body, and the things of this world, unless we let go of that identification, we cannot experience self-realization, enlightenment, or love of God. Krishna then explains the process in terms of cleanliness, mindfulness, and presence. He says it begins by cleaning yourself. Just a simple thing like having a shower before you sit down to worship him. Calming your mind, sitting properly, chanting his name. This is a spiritual common sense. Before meeting someone important, you don't show up in pajamas and with pizza on your shirt. Similarly, a bath, clean clothes, and a steady mind help us remember that we're entering into a sacred space. Psychology also confirms this. Cleanliness affects mental clarity. Ritual preparation increases focus. Physical posture influences emotional state. Krishna was teaching neuroscience before neuroscience even existed. So here's the principle of offering. Here comes one of the most important verses in the entire chapter. Krishna says, a devotee free from material desire may worship me with whatever he has, and may even worship me within his heart using mental paraphernalia. So can you actually imagine that you're offering incense to Krishna or offering food to Krishna? And he accepts our offerings. He says, even insignificant offerings, if given with love, please me more than opulent offerings from non-devotees. You can see from this that Krishna is not impressed by wealth. He is moved by love. If you can offer jewels, great. But if all you have is a glass of water, that's perfect too. This is why bhakti is so accessible. Bhakti or devotional service is not about money or Sanskrit fluency or perfect rituals. What is needed is a heart filled with sincerity, serenity, and devotion. Next, Krishna gives an enormous amount of technical detail. Mantras, vessels, directions. He speaks about how to bathe, dress, and decorate the deity, how to offer incense, lamps, foods, how to perform fire sacrifice and meditate on the deity, and much more. These details are important for priests and advanced practitioners. But for beginners, here's the essence. Krishna wants us to understand. Number one, see the deity as Krishna himself. The deity helps you treat Krishna as a real person, not a symbol, not an idol. But Krishna choosing to appear in a form that you can relate to. This is his mercy upon us, to come into that form. That's why we bathe him. That's why we dress him. We feed him. We take care of him, just as you would the most valued member of your family or your beloved. The second point he makes is use your senses to connect with him. Your eyes to see his form, your ears to hear his names, your nose to smell the incense and flowers, your hands to offer foodstuffs, to decorate, to touch, your tongue to taste the food that has been offered to him after he's had we offer it to him, then we eat from that food as well. And your mind to meditate on him. This is bhakti therapy, a powerful process for cleansing the heart and mind and even the subconscious of all the traumas we've experienced for millions of lifetimes. The third point he makes here is ritual creates relationship. I mean, think about it. You have a baby. You have a ritual with your baby. Taking care of the baby, feeding her, clothing her, making sure she goes to the toilet, whatever, you have a ritual. And the more you have a ritual, the more safety you create. And the more safety you create, the more calm that baby is going to be. So in the same way, when we take care of Krishna by bathing him, dressing him, feeding him, waking him up, putting the deity to rest at the end of the day, you build a relationship. You don't do this because he needs anything. He doesn't need anything. What the heck does Krishna need? He's got everything. He is the source of everything. But you do this because these practices help you deepen your relationship through loving service. Even in modern day psychology, they say the same thing. When you care for someone, you bond with them. When you show up consistently, trust grows. When you engage your senses, emotional intimacy deepens. Krishna is giving us a structured daily routine to build a real relationship with him. This is not just about saying I want to have a relationship with God, as some people say. No, it's about actually doing it. Like assuming that there is a relationship. This is called sambandh. What is your sambandh, your relationship with God? You need to assert that sambandh. Is it as a friend? Is it as a lover? Is it as your child? And then relate to him in that way. Now taking it a step further, Krishna says, sing, chant loudly, dance, and hear and tell stories about my pastimes. All of these are forms of worship. You will find such blissful kirtan and worship at any ISKCON temple, especially during the weekly Sunday feast. Do go if you haven't. You'll see it's really amazing. God is not asking you to be solemn and grim. He's asking you to be joyful and participate. The joy is the offering He gives to you and the worship you give to Him. Your joy is the offering He gives to you. And in the same joy is the worship you give to Him. Krishna finally summarizes the benefits. By worshipping me, you will achieve your desired perfection in this life and the next. So what is your desired perfection? If it is simply to merge in the light, you may not need this process. Just meditation might be all you need. If you want love of God, then you will have it. You will have developed it. You will have cultivated it. You will be ready for the real thing. If you want a relationship with God, you will have established it. You will have cemented and formed that relationship. You will be ready for the kingdom of God. It's not something that you just walk into as you are doing all the things that you've been doing, all your worldly stuff, being attached to the world. No, detachment has to shift from the world to God. Krishna also mentions many other processes or ways, especially for those who have the resources, such as building temples for Him, supporting deity services, contributing towards the puja or the seva that's taking place in the temples, offering land or resources, creating gardens for flowers to support the deity worship in the temples. That is, if you have the resources, do that. What we learn is this: when you give something to Krishna, you become wealthy internally. So whether you have a little or a lot, it's not about the quantity. It's not about how much. Your love, that's the currency. And that love makes you wealthy internally. You begin to feel abundant inside. You begin to feel like you're the richest person on earth because you have received directly from God the most wonderful gift of all there is. And that gift, the gift of love, makes you feel abundant from within. The feelings of lack that most people have aren't there. The feelings of needing to be significant aren't there. The feelings of trying to be worthy aren't there. The feelings that you're trying to prove something, to establish yourself, aren't there. It's very powerful. And this is my experience as well. Generosity towards the divine builds detachment, humility, and gratitude. Krishna then closes with the most encouraging teaching of all. He says, one who simply engages in devotional service, bhakti, without seeking results, attains me. See, He knows your heart. You don't need to ask Him for what you need. He knows. So just serve Him with love and devotion. Leave the rest to Him. However He keeps you, trust that. Build a relationship of trust. So while relationships might be powerful, while temple worship is wonderful, while mantras and offerings and fire sacrifices are beneficial, Krishna says repeatedly, if you simply worship with love and devotion, you will attain me. It's not the ritual that saves you, it is the love that awakens you. Deity worship trains the heart. It cultivates humility, discipline, affection, constant remembrance. If you practice deity worship steadily, like at home, right? You could have forms of Radha and Krishna like that. And you could worship them. Even children can worship them and help with bathing them and feeding them and dressing them. Right? So if you practice deity worship steadily, you will develop pure devotion and ultimately attain Him. Krishna ends with, whenever one develops faith in me in any of my forms, one should worship me in that form. So some people are more attracted to Ram, Lakshman and Sita. Some are attracted to Radha and Krishna, or Gaur Nitai, or Jagannath, or Narsingadev. Whatever form you're attracted to, worship that. Ultimately, as you continue to worship Krishna's form, chant His name, and eat prasadam, the food offered to Krishna, as your heart, mind, and body get purified, one day He will reveal Himself to you within your heart. From then on, there will be no separation. The material world will be revealed as illusion, and the form of Krishna becomes established within you as the ultimate reality. In conclusion, Krishna accepts your devotion in whatever way you offer it. The deity is Krishna making himself accessible to you. So this is sort of a summary now. Firstly, he accepts worship in any bona fide deity form. Wherever there is faith and love and devotion, there he is present. Next point he made in this was deity worship blesses both this life and the next. It brings purity, peace, inner strength, and ultimately loving devotional service, which is liberation. Third point he made in this chapter was that devotion is greater than rituals. Rituals support devotion, but devotion is the goal. The fourth point was whoever worships him sincerely, even if they cannot follow the rituals perfectly, attains him. So to sum it all up in one line, Krishna uses the deity to help us learn to love him. The rituals are there to awaken devotion, not replace it. Ultimately, it's devotion, not knowledge, dogma, or austerity that brings you to him. If you keep that in mind, you've understood the meaning and purpose of deity worship. So with that, we come to the end of this chapter. And if you have any questions, please ask or write them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer your questions whenever you write them. I'll try and get to as many of them as I can. We're here every Tuesday in the East Coast, that's at 8 p.m. And on the West Coast, that's 5 p.m. If you want to attend the live program, or all the recordings are there on my YouTube channel. If you just type onto YouTube at Rohit Juneja, you'll find me. And I'll see you next week. Same place, same time. Hare Krishna.